If we do a quick check, we got this thing called the coffee house, and we're told that the average selling price per cup is $1.49, and the average variable expenses per cup is 36. With these two items, we could calculate the unit contribution margin. The selling price of $1.49 minus the variable cost per unit of 36 gives you a unit contribution margin of $1.13. If we're looking to solve what the contribution margin ratio is, well, the contribution margin ratio is simply the unit contribution margin of $1.13 divided by the selling price of $1.49. That would give you a rounded contribution margin ratio of 75.83%. If we go back one step and we look at the formula we had on the last page, the contribution margin equals sales times contribution margin ratio. Well, we know what the contribution margin ratio is, and we know what our selling price is, so we should be able to calculate the unit contribution margin. Let's look at our break-even contribution margin. Break-even contribution margin is going to be where our contribution margin equals our fixed expenses. We know that the fixed expenses per month are $1,300, so if we want to break even, we have to have a contribution margin of $1,300. So we can say the break-even contribution margin is $1,300. That's going to equal the contribution margin ratio times sales. So this will end up being our break-even sales. Using a little bit of algebra, you can isolate sales on one side. You take the 1,300 divided by the 0.7583, and that's going to equal break-even sales of $1714.36. Divide your break-even sales by your selling price of $1.49, and you end up with your break-even units, which would be an unrounded 150.58. So we now know through these calculations that if we want to break even at the coffee house with all these givens, the selling price, the variable expense, and the fixed expenses, we now know that we have to sell at least 150.58 units, and we have to generate sales of $1714.36.